we've done some evaluation, and that's what I want to present the results of now. So the aim was to test the effectiveness of the tools that we developed using this enhanced version of Consul. So we're doing a laboratory-style evaluation, not doing it out there in the wild, which is something we'd very much like to do, and we hope we will be able to do it in due course. But we thought we'd begin with a sort of formative evaluation, testing the tools that we've developed to see if they make a difference in the laboratory, which meant we had to recruit some people to participate and design some tasks which they would perform, and then we could evaluate the results. So we devised 4 use cases for the participants. The first one, a user is looking for one or more proposals they would like to support. They must choose one or more tags and successive steps until they find at least 3 that are similar. And there are 2 conditions here. One is the current version of Consul with the tags that people have generated themselves for the proposals they've submitted, and what we're calling the enhanced version, where tags have been extracted from the proposals using the NLP tools. So we want to see if the enhanced version with the extracted tags makes it easier for people to find similar proposals than the current version where you just have the tags that people have generated by themselves. The second task, a user wants to find proposals similar to ones they are given using related proposal lists until they find at least 4 that are similar. Again, we compare this with the current version where people are left with very basic tools to do that same task, and see if the enhanced version enables it to be done more easily. A third task is a user wishes to decide which proposal they would like to support by summarising the comments others have left, so looking at the summaries that have been generated. So this is, we're not comparing the enhanced version with the current version here. We're just looking at how easy people find using the summarisation facility that we've produced. And similarly, in the fourth task, the user wants to find like-minded citizens. Again, this is not a task that's directly supported in the current version, so we're only testing whether people feel that what we've developed in the enhanced version does help them to do that. And we used within subjects design, where we had, in the first 2 tasks, where we had 2 different conditions. That is to say, we had 14 subjects, and they used both versions of Consul, but we alternated which version they would use first in order to equalize any training effect that there might be from having used the Consul in first one version of Consul and then the second. That's a very common way of dealing with that particular training problem. That's a known issue in laboratory studies where you've got 2 or more conditions you want people to work in. So, just a reminder, here's the standard version, the current version of Consul, with tags that have been produced by the users themselves. And here's the standard version where there's a short list of related proposals. And what people will see in the enhanced version is this. Tags generated by extracting them from proposals. So we see here, just in this case, there's more tags available. And then we have a list of related proposals which people can browse if they want to find similar ones in the enhanced version. So let's move on then to the results. Just to say, because the data we were using, the version of Consul we were using, was being deployed in Madrid, we had, of course, to go to Madrid to test it. I know, somebody had to do it, and so Miguel and I volunteered. And in case you think this was a holiday, actually we did it on a weekend, and it took fully about 12 hours on a Saturday to go through the whole process. And here you can see some of the participants. in this very interesting space in Madrid called Media Lab Prado, which is a facility that anybody can use, groups can use to have meetings, to do work with technology, and they were very, very kindly let us use the space for nothing and helped us indeed to recruit the participants. Okay, so the results. So task one, remember, is to compare the current version and the enhanced version of Consul, where it comes to finding similar proposals using the tags that are either produced by the people who submitted the proposals or have been extracted in the enhanced version. So here are the results. So first of all, we measure the time to complete the task in the original and enhanced condition, and these are the mean times. We notice a difference that the enhanced version was 40% quicker, and that the standard deviation across the two samples was 216 in one case and 178 in the other. And we did a student t-test for significance of the difference in the mean and variance of the two measures. And we came up with a result that p was equal to 0.003, which by any measure is statistically significant. Therefore, we conclude that the enhanced version was indeed faster for people to find similar proposals. We also asked the participants to rate the similarity of the proposals that they found using either version, in either condition. And again, we had a difference in the means between the original and enhanced versions, 3.65 to 3.95, a percentage difference of 8.3, very similar standard deviations. In this case, the p-score was 0.1, which is generally held not to be statistically significant in these kind of tests. Usually 0.05 would be the kind of benchmark you'd use. So we don't see a statistically significant difference there. But when we look at people's rating of the ease of which they found similar proposals, 3.88 mean in the original condition and 4.32 in the enhanced, a difference of 11.4%, similar standard deviations, we find that a p-value of 0.02, which again then based upon that being less than 0.05, we argue shows a significant difference statistically between the two conditions. Therefore, we conclude from this that the enhanced version makes it easier for people to find similar proposals. Moving on to task 2, search for similar proposals using lists of related proposals. Again, we measure the time taken, the average values in the two conditions. A very big difference between the means in the two conditions, a difference of nearly 60%. And the p-figure is very, very significant indeed, 0.000000, etc. 5. So this result seems to be very robust in terms of people finding it much quicker to find similar proposals using the related lists of proposals in the enhanced version, which was generated by using NLP to match the current proposal against others in the dataset. Again, if we look at similarity, a difference of 8.3% according to subjects, and that's probably just not quite significant. A 0.06 is the p-value there. Again, we look at ease, however, 3.88 versus 4.27, we get a significant result. So again, it seems that subjects could do the task more quickly. We're very clear that is a significant result, and also they found it easier to do. But perhaps there's some indication we need to look again at how we are performing the similarity test in order to improve that result. And when we come on to further work, that will be one of the things that we will be doing as we go forward. Summarisation of comments. So This now is a one-condition test, and all we're inviting subjects to do is to rate the relevance of the summaries that they found, and also comment on the ease of being able to come to a summary of the comments for a particular set of proposals. And here we have a mean of 3.11, which is, the scale is 1 to 5, where 1 is not at all relevant to 5, which is very relevant, and 1 is not very easy to, and 5 is very easy. So you can see that both values are in the positive range. Relevance is just over the positive, the negative positive boundary. The ease is substantially more in the positive range. So it does seem that the summarization of comments task was made easier, what was perceived as being relatively easy in this case, but the relevance clearly is something that we would need to improve on. And finally, the search for similar users. Again, this is just a one-condition task. So we measured the time, and the mean was 202 seconds, with quite a wide standard deviation there, you can see. Similarity, again, in the positive range, and ease also in the positive range. But I think when we consider these two tasks together, we can see that there is considerable room for improvement, both on the summarization and in the way that we are currently identifying similar users, and that information is presented to users on Consul. So we also asked people to comment on the different tasks they were asked to perform. And so you can see in task 1, these are extracts of those comments. You could see that depending on the tag, you could find similar things or not. Depending, for example, on how specific was the tag, dog park was very specific versus urbanism very general. Sometimes there were too few tags, or the tags were too general. So some positive and not so positive comments there. Task 2, the task was much easier compared to the first task and pretty clear, clearly saying that the enhanced version was better. Much more easier than the first task, and the proposals were more related between them. So we had mostly positive comments in task 2. Tasks 3 and 4, the relevance of the extracts changed a lot from one case to another. In some cases very good, in some cases not at all. The extracts were in many cases were not very relevant regarding the proposal itself. And finally, task 4, looking for similar users. It was easy, and the difficulty was similar to the first task. In some cases, when talking about very general issues, it was difficult. In other cases, when talking about very specific issues, it was much easier. It was difficult to navigate through the list of similar users. For example, it would make it easier to show the activity of the user, number of proposals, comments, before entering in his or her profile. So you could select users also based on that. So that's an interesting suggestion here about how to improve, provide more similarity affordances, if you like, which people can use to assess just how much, according to their own, if you like, way of measuring similarity, a particular user might be. So we will certainly be looking into that as we go forward. So, in summary, searches of similar proposals with enhanced Consul and tags and lists, that's tasks 1 and 2. Users perform more quickly, users more satisfied with the results and found task easier. And we found statistically significant and robust results pointing to the improved performance with the enhanced version over the current version. Summarization, users marginally satisfied with the results but found task generally quite easy. And search for similar users, users marginally satisfied with results and ease of task. So, what are our next steps? Well, the funding from Nesta finishes in a very short while. He was going to remind me exactly when in the break. But we have continuation funding through the Warwick-Turing PDRA scheme, which will enable us to continue the work until October of this year, which I think is very, very helpful to us, and I think is a testimony to what we've achieved already, and the value that is perceived of pursuing this work. What we're going to do, based, of course, learning from the evaluation that we've done, we want to do further development of the summarization and identification of similar users to look at different ways that we might do that. And I think we're going to hear from Yulan later on some thoughts about how more advanced NLP techniques can help with that. We want to do a second laboratory-style user evaluation some point in the not-too-distant future when we think we have made some advances in the summarization and identification of similar users in particular. I think, sadly, we were going to do that in Warwick rather than in Madrid. We will have to, though, of course, recruit Spanish-speaking participants. But we hope we'll be able to find sufficient numbers of those in Warwick, students and staff and so forth. Yeah. So that will take place. And we'll also look at the task design to see if we can improve it in order to be able to be more specific about what we're learning from the results. And finally, of course, we would very much in the foreseeable future, within the context of this continuation work, be able to test the enhanced version in a live setting. And we are in discussions with various possible partners which may enable us to do that. So this would be perhaps in the style of a A/B testing. If you're familiar with that, that is used in testing websites. Companies produce two versions of a website, A and B, and users can employ either one. They don't know which they're employing. They just randomly get allocated one when they type in the URL. And then you can then measure performance under the two conditions. The difference being here that it's no longer laboratory-based. It's actually in the wild, people doing actually what they want to do rather than what you imagine they want to do when you design the tasks for the laboratory setting. So this should enable us to get a much deeper understanding, I think, of user behavior and how indeed NLP can help to improve performance. So we hope to have news about that in the not-too-distant future. So I think that's the final slide. So I think we'll move on to the next talk. Thank you.